very, very good to eat home-cooked food. Good night, good night, good night, and welcome to all. To all of you who live around here and within my voice, good night, family. To all of you who do not live from around here or are not from Christchurch East, welcome, welcome to our home. It is so good to see so many of you over here tonight. That tells me something. It tells me that the good people of Barbados are no longer afraid of the Democratic Labour Party. It shows that the good people of Barbados are no longer prepared to take the mismanagement and the abuse of the Democratic Labour Party, but are prepared to come out and attend political meetings and see this government change. I don't know about y'all, but I like history. And I like to equate what is going on now to what happened historically. Not since Hitler Germany has any government sought to control the media in the way that the Democratic Labour Party has sought to control CBC. Not since the Nazi Party member Goebbels. You all ever heard of Joseph Goebbels? He was the Minister of Propaganda. His sole purpose in the Nazi government was propaganda. Well, we have a whole ton of Goebbels in Barbados. I don't want to tell you this to take you on a trip down history or to give you a lecture on history. I tell you to prove a point. CBC is now officially the worst television station in the world. I don't know how many of y'all have watched the news recently. The first 7 minutes of any newscast is dedicated to government ministers, whether they have anything to say or not. If Dennis Lowe stumps his toe in Silver Sands, he will make it onto the news. If I discover the cure for cancer, I will not. Something has to change. When making a speech, I like to come up with a theme. It stops me from going off the place like Punka. I was thinking, I'm going to go on the theme of things have to change. But then the people in my branch were telling me go under the theme of Low has got to go. But realistically, those aren't two different themes. I can combine the both of them. So my theme tonight is things must change and Low has got to go. The Democratic Labour Party promised integrity legislation. They promised to lower the cost of living, housing solutions for all, and most significantly, they promised accountable and professional government. Fool me once, shame on me. Sorry, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The DLP is cracking up. First it was the Eagle 11 and Fumble Stewart's promise that heads were going to roll. The other day it was David Eswick threatening to resign if he did not get help for agriculture. Well, I didn't see any help came, but I noticed he's still there. Recently it was Adriel Brathwaite in the US saying that he did not agree with using NAS money to fund the Four Seasons project. Most recently, it was the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Chris Sinclair, ordering an investigation into the Barbados Water Authority. An investigation that he knew or had to know was going to embarrass and politically cripple one of his own colleagues. Does that sound like the DLP is together? The budget, that wasn't. As a child, my mother insisted we watch the budget. When I was 7 years old, the budget didn't mean nothing to me, but we had to watch it. or it was licks. Sorry, Mom. I used to eagerly anticipate the budget. I used to eagerly wait to hear exactly what the Minister of Finance was going to do for the country, exactly what was going to happen. When I got old and started to work, the budget started to affect me. And I used to watch the budget to understand how it was going to affect me and you. The budget is the high point of the government's presentation each year to the people of Barbados. How many of y'all watch the budget? How many of y'all watch the budget? Chris Sinclair proudly proclaimed this was going to be the budget of budgets. All everybody in Barbados waiting for is two things. You're waiting to hear what happened with Clico, and you're waiting to hear what happened with the allowances. Sinclair, coming on to the end of his speech, for which he spoke for 4 hours, really truly saying absolutely nothing. He said, I am about, the last two things I'm going to speak about, I'm going to speak about Clico and Red Jet. And Sinclair starts to talk about Clico, talk about the money that was lost, talk about the investments. And then there was a pause as Sinclair was quoting figures. You all remember that part? And Sinclair did this. I beg your pardon, Mr. Speaker, I crave your indulgence. And he shifted and shifted and shifted papers. And then he finally got the testicular fortitude to admit, sir, there seems to be a problem. Our figures seem to be wrong. We will come back to you with the correct figures. No, I ain't know about y'all. But a Minister of Finance cannot make a mistake in a budget. You cannot make it. Anybody hearing Chris Sinclair deliver that budget understands that Chris Sinclair was seeing that budget for the very, very first time. He had never read that budget before. Nobody had read that budget before. If that was bad enough, if that was it, I would say, Sinclair, you had to resign. Frundle, you had to fire Sinclair. But that wasn't it. Sinclair ain't talking about the allowances, what the middle class is waiting to hear, what happened to the allowances. He announces that they've varied the tax brackets. The first $25,000 is tax-free. The next is raised from $24,200 to $30,000 at 17.5% tax. The budget ended. No big promises. Sinclair got slammed after the budget. He got slammed the next day in the press. He got slammed for not doing enough. And then the day afterwards, the proud announcement, there was a typographical error with the figures. It wasn't supposed to be 30,000, it's supposed to be 35,000. Now, it is bad enough that you made a mistake, Sinclair. It is even worse that you come back and you lie to the people of Barbados. You tell a bold-faced lie. Your budget did not deliver what it promised. You were getting stick for it and you sought to correct it 2 days later. Then be a man and say that. But these lies are typical of the DLP government. That is not how this country should be run. Things have got to change. I don't know if you all heard Mia Amor Motley deliver the response to the budget, but that was genius. Class is class. Well, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, Mia's response was the budget. So Sinclair should there and then have said, Mia, you're better than me. You know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I need some help. The one thing though, the one thing I admire Sinclair for, when they announced the downgrade by Standards & Poor's, Dr. Delisle Worrell gets on TV and says he doesn't understand how that happened. He wasn't looking for that at all. At all. They don't understand the Barbadian context. What does Sinclair say? Sinclair says anybody paying even the slightest attention to the economy could not have been surprised by the downgrade. Well, really and truly, if the Minister of Finance and the governing central bank are so at variance, then somebody has to go. But I like quotes. What Dr. Delisle Worrell said in answer to a question from one of the journalists when they asked, would you accept advice from the Barbados Labour Party? He said, and I quote, We are receptive to any good ideas to help us move forward. We have none, and they have not offered us any. Now listen carefully what he said. He said, we are receptive to any good ideas to help us move forward. We have none, and they have not offered us any. If the governor of the central bank has no ideas as to what to do with the country and how the country should move forward, he needs to go. The DLP is falling apart. Now, I'm home. Mr. Lovell introduced the topic, the unfortunate and unpleasant topic of Dr. the Honorable Dennis Lowe. He's my favorite minister. He's actually my favorite minister. He's now the poster boy for the Democratic Labour Party. They've done away with Esteban Suku. Every night on TV is Dennis Lowe. Every day in the paper, it is Dennis Lowe. They made a mistake though. First of all, Esteban Suku is way better looking than Dennis Lowe. By far. And then Dennis Lowe actually represents all of the things that are wrong with the Democratic Labour Party. I like to do research. So before I make any speech, I research thoroughly. I like to find interesting things to tell people. I did a research on Dennis Lowe. I discovered, there was a saint called Saint Dennis. Like how they got Saint Christopher and Saint Bartholomew, they had a saint called Saint Dennis. Saint Dennis was the patron saint of frenzy, strife, headaches, hypochondria, possessed people, and rabies. Saint Dennis was beheaded after his head was chopped off. His miracle was that he walked for 6 miles preaching the entire way. That's interesting, because if you hear the things that Dennis Lowe says, you'll be convinced that he has no head. Dennis, the minister of drains and flooding. Anybody with a cell phone knows by now there's certain things you do and you don't do. Like for example, you don't send a text to somebody that you don't want somebody else to see. That if that text gets out, it will sink you. For example, I would never send a text to anybody saying, where is my cut? I would never send a text to anybody who I gave a job to saying, where is my piece? That was but the start of the misfortune and the natural disaster that was Dennis Lowe. On the 26th of January 2012, a member of the Board of Sanitation sent a letter to the Prime Minister resigning because of what he considered inappropriate interference by the minister. Guess who that minister was? It says, "Dear Sir," addressed to the Honorable Francis Stewart, "Dear Sir, I have been a member of the Democratic Labour Party since 1986 and wish to thank you for the opportunity to serve on the Board of Sanitation Service Authority." This is the letter here. "I do not want to continue to serve as a member of that board with the current minister. The minister chairs meetings on a regular basis and this should not be so. There's one matter I would like to draw your attention to, and it has to do with a truck that the minister asked to be sent back to Autocraft Engineering to be fixed for a price of over 74,000 Barbados dollars without having the 3 quotations that he's required to do. The requirement was outlined to the minister by the member of the management committee, as well as the new permanent secretary. I am concerned about the behavior of the minister in insisting that the truck be fixed without obtaining the required quotations. This is a serious situation, especially when elections are around the corner. I am concerned by what this could do to the party if it gets out." Well, Dennis Lowe, it has gotten out. You cannot do as you wish in the ministries that you go to. But that is not the end. I don't know how many of y'all heard Kerry Simmons speaking recently or read what Kerry had to say. Lowe is the minister responsible for sanitation. He's the minister responsible for the dumps. You know the metal dump? The metal dump in St. Kitts constituency that affects Kerry? Dennis Lowe authorized a transfer. Actually, it wasn't even a transfer. It was a swap to one of his cronies. A swap of the land on which the metal dump is for a piece of land in St. Lucie. Size unknown. Value unknown. Thank you, Madam. Up River Bay. You understand when you sell a metal dump, what that means? The most valuable trade in the world right now is scrap metal. That surpassed gold. The most valuable and lucrative trade is in scrap metal. And you swap a dump with about 60 or 70 years worth of scrap metal that can net the government millions, and you swap it for a piece of land to somebody, and you didn't get town country planning permission to do it. You didn't get authorization to do it. You did it because you felt like it, because you are the big McGuffey, and whatever you say goes. Well, Dennis Lowe, things are about to change. Listen, just for the record, any of you who heard that just now, I did not say that. Then Dennis Lowe is rewarding people who supported him in his campaign. I ain't got a problem with that. But there are ways to do things. Do not be so foolish as to put your malfeasances down on paper. I read, I don't want to call the person's name, but I have a letter on the letterhead. The Minister of Social Care, Constituency, Empowerment and Urban Development. I have voluntarily decided to give you an additional $1,000 per month for the first 6 months of your assignment. I believe I have created the best circumstances for this position of any of my colleagues. I do this for you because I value your contributions to my efforts in Christchurch East. I value your loyalty and commitment. Once you continue to demonstrate your loyalty to me, I will do the same for you. You believe a minister wrote that on the government letterhead and he is still a minister of anything? Things have got to change. Low, you have got to go. Look, I ain't going to further into that one. But understand, I rewrote my entire address to y'all because of this. The audit report on the Barbados Water Authority. Y'all might have read the Sunday Sun last week. I heard that not so good things were going on in the Barbados Water Authority under Dennis Lowe's watch. The Sunday Sun had on some, but ain't had all. Well, I got all. And I can share some of it with you. Understand clearly. Hold on. They had a study tour. Some people in the Barbados Water Authority applied for a study tour. Approval was granted for the BWA personnel to participate in a Utilities Best Practice United Kingdom study tour from July 10th to 17th, 2010. A company was paid a total of $31,500 for coordinating and facilitating the tour. Tickets valued at $10,708.03 were purchased from a travel agency. At the time of the review, there was no evidence provided to show that the tour took place or that these funds were ever recovered. You think that bad? That ain't bad. The BWA contracted with 2 companies to supply stuff to the BWA. The 2 companies were engaged by the executive chairman. I won't call the name. The procurement department in some instances did not have the opportunity to follow the procurement procedures to the letter and felt duty bound to follow the instructions given. So the people there who were responsible for following the letter said, but how we awarding these things is not right. And they were told to do it anyway. It is the policy of the authority that the prepayment of 100% for goods is prohibited. However, this firm was prepared US $226,995.10. The full payment for the goods ordered. No due diligence was conducted on this firm, which is based in the US. the authority made several payments over the period June to August 2010. Although there were no deliveries for previous orders, and at the time of this audit, none of the purchases were ever received. We don't understand that. $226,000 and change the Barbados Water Authority under the ministership, under the stewardship of Dennis Lowe, paid out not in one block, but they kept ordering, although nothing wasn't coming. $226,000 US dollars. You think that bad? Not that bad. There was a quotation for a company to supply some goods for Barbados $61,200. The payment made from the Barbados Water Authority was for US $61,200. Well, truthfully, pick sense from nonsense. I want to know what happened to the other $61,200 Barbados dollars. You get paid twice for the same thing, and nobody raised a flag. Listen, it goes on and on and on. A company was awarded a water meter contract totaling $899,171. No written contract was ever presented for the audit inspection as required. I wonder why. Man, listen, I don't even know, there's so much I don't even know to tell you all. They talk about recruitment, gateway jobs that you can't pay for, gateway jobs with no interviews, breaching the policies of the government. And Lowe is silent. Lowe has got to go. The Auditor General said those persons responsible for what has happened at the Water Authority must be held accountable. Must. Well, I hope they don't start picking on the rank and file and don't pick from the top two. It is not good enough. The Barbados Labour Party never ran the country so. We are with a bunch of wild boys, a bunch of political deviants, a bunch of political perverts. What I don't understand, right? I don't know. First of all, let me explain something to you all. I don't like to defame people. So if I don't have proof of something, I ain't calling nobody name or saying that they do it. So example, I will never say that the late Honorable David Thompson is a criminal, because no matter what he did, and no matter what came out with the Clico reports, and no matter what came out with the fraud and the money laundering, the fact is he never got convicted of anything. So I cannot say that he's a criminal. I cannot say that Frank Destroy is a malingerer, because he's not been convicted of malingering. And loitering is a criminal activity. However, well, to Franco's defense, I don't think he could be charged with loitering with the intention to do nothing. I cannot call Dennis Lowe a doctor because I have no proof on that. We have been calling for that proof since he got into politics. No, it's easy. I went to University of West Indies. I went to Heward Law School. I went to St. Giles first. I went to Harrison College next. I can show you all my certificates and my degrees from everything I went to. If you ask me for it, I would say, look, this is it. Huh? You want a copy? Take a copy. No. I personally have asked him, Dennis, sorry, in a letter, where are your qualifications? I have spoken publicly. You think by now he would just throw it in my face to shut me up? Nah. Don't misunderstand me. I want to know what Dennis Lowe did to Chris Sinclair. Because understand, an audit does not happen by itself. So somewhere, the Minister of Finance says, go and audit that business. And he was specific. He said do a general audit. He said from April 2008 until last year, I think it was June last year. Now, that coincides remarkably well with the tenure of a certain minister who went in, I believe it was in April 2008, sorry, and left last year. But all I want to know is what he do precisely, because he had to doing something real bad. One minister does not maliciously sabotage the next one like that, unless I can't even say that Dennis Lowe stole his wife, because I don't even know if that's his taste. I don't know. Lovell had, I don't know. But the one thing that we can't get away from is something crooked went on at the Water Authority. I'm not saying any particular person was a crook. I'm saying crookery went on. Now, what I don't understand, you have a man who got evicted from his constituency office for non-payment of rent. You have a man who got evicted from his home for non-payment of rent. You have a man who, as a government minister, understand me, as a government minister, the bailiffs went to repossess his vehicle. You have a man who, in his constituency office, the water was turned off for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Now understand something, when you become an MP, they give you money to run a constituency office. They give you $2,600. You have no excuse for not paying the rent or paying the water. None. And you trying to tell me, a man you can't trust with $2,000 or $2,600, you can go and trust him with $90 million, which is the annual budget for the Water Authority? Well, I got to amend my statement. And it's not just Low has got to go. Frundle, you have got to go too. I went to St. Giles Primary School. I grew up understanding that ministers take care of the constituencies. So when I was at school, Dr. Don Blackman was the Minister of Transport and Work, and he was the Minister for the Pine and the Ivy. Don Blackman paved every single road in the Ivy. Every road. He paved people yards. Actually, I think there was a small child that didn't move in time, and he paved that child too. They had to clean it off, but you know. If you left your door open, Don Blackman would pave your living room. Dennis Lowe is the Minister of Drainage. Why is it that Christchurch East has the worst drainage and worst flooding in the whole of Barbados? The whole of Barbados. Why is it that Brady's floods out every time it rains? Why is it that by Roy Smith you got 3 feet of water? In Chancery Lane, in the middle class area, sometimes people can't even get in, they got park the cars. And a lady showed us, when we went canvassing, she showed us where she had to climb over the wall to get into her house. Lord, what are you doing? How is it that you can be sick for 6 whole weeks? 6 whole weeks and nobody even realize that you're off sick? That means you don't do nothing. You don't go to work. You don't drive a stroke of work. You don't make a difference. Nobody miss you. Low, you've got to go. Now, understand. As I said, I don't defame. I started late. But Glenn, I actually feel this is my constituency. I know you like Glenn and I'm coming off, but give me a little break. I ain't gonna call anybody's name when I have no proof. I am not gonna call anybody's name who engages in scratch your back politics. I am not gonna call anybody's name to say that women afraid to go to them to ask for a job or for help, because before you get any assistance, they want the back scratch, and they want it scratched first. I will not call anybody's name, right? Because I want nobody to sue me. But pick sense from nonsense. I could go on and tell you the things I don't like about what is happening about here, but I'm not going to do that. With my limited time, I'm going to tell you the promises I'm going to make to y'all. Now understand, I do not make promises I cannot keep. I will never make a promise I cannot keep. If I make a promise to you or anybody in Christ Church, take it to the bank because it is done. I will never default on paying my rent. I will never embarrass my party and my constituents by being unable to meet my commitments. I will not embarrass by having my car repossessed and then can't explain to anybody where the money come from. You didn't have it to pay, but you still got the car. Where did the money come from? I was in the constituency yesterday, and the biggest issue people had is the promises. The promises from Lowe. He promised everybody everything. He promised them the world. He is running. He promised Miss Bino over there behind St. Christopher's Church that he can fix her house when Thomas blew off the roof. Miss Bino, an old lady. I go and visit her often. She is living in conditions nobody should have to live in. He promised 6 people in Fairy Valley he can fix the house. He promised people jobs. And all Loaders do is give out paper. He gives out paper. But to be honest, he should be the last person to give out paper. He should be frightened for paper. When you go and ask for a job, you get a piece of paper to take somewhere else. You go and ask for help, you get a piece of paper to take somewhere else. You go and ask for financial assistance, you get a piece of paper to take for something else. Lord, what are you doing? Are you a minister or are you a librarian? The change is happening right now all across Barbados. The change is happening right now in Christchurch East. We need to get back to serious, responsible, accountable government. And we need to start here in Christchurch East. Can you feel the change? Can you feel the change? Low has got to go. Low has got to go. Low has got to go. Vote for Barbados, vote for the BLP. God bless you, good night.